Our research topic is using ICT to engage a diverse classroom. I'm Marcel and I did using ICT to engage a diverse classroom with ASD students.
Hey, I'm Jess and I focused on engaging students from low SES backgrounds.
I'm Charlotte and I focused on students with visual impairments.
Hi, I'm Anu and I focused on gifted and talented students.
So in terms of motivation, I found that using ICT improves engagement and student social interactions in the classroom. And how that was because the literature revealed that you can actually use ICT to motivate these students in engaging in social interactions, which can sometimes be very daunting for students with ASD depending on how far on the spectrum they are. It's very interesting, the research and what it says about how you can sort of, for example, use a smart board sharing activity where that would encourage the student to get out of their seat and engage with others, whilst at the same time implementing that whole ICT smart board factor, which uses ICT and engages them. Another thing that I found was using ICT to reduce stress and anxiety in students with ASD. That's also really important because it helps them stay on task and engage in positive behaviours in the classroom.
So is this where you have the lesson outlined on the board and so that they know where they are in the class?
Yeah, so for example, when you have your normal lesson outline or lesson goals on the board, you could have an ICT version for students with ASD because they might engage with that a little bit better. And that's really important, especially you could have cyber classroom settings as another example.
For flipped classrooms?
Yeah, like flipped classrooms and also promoting those positive behaviours through the ICT programs that you choose to use in class.
It's weird because I found that true even with my gifted and talented students. So just a little bit of an aside, when we had a gifted and talented student without any differentiation on our lesson, he was basically all over the place because he wasn't engaged in the class. So I think, yeah, something similar happens there too.
Yeah, exactly. And with my last one, I've also found that ICT can also be used to visually engage students with ASD and improve their language and communication impairments, because again, depending on how far on the spectrum they are, that will differ. So some of them really struggle in terms of communication and language, and ICT can just be used as a tool by teachers to improve that in the classroom.
Did you find that in your data collection?
Yeah, so in the data collection, I found that most teachers would like to use it in the classroom, but they do experience other sort of issues in terms of accessing technology, which can be a little bit more difficult, especially in public school classrooms, which is what I found in my research. In my data collection, I collected 3 interviews from 3 public school teachers across Australia actually, and yeah, what was revealed was they all had the intentions to use ICT in class, especially to help their students with ASD, but they sometimes couldn't get the computers, so it was really an issue in terms of accessing technology.
Yeah, I had the same sort of thing with mine. So I had students with visual impairments, and we found that through our literature review that the literature was saying that using ICT, students were shown to have improved self-efficacy and they were more engaged with the actual content because they felt more confident in it, because this technology gave them that opportunity to kind of engage with the work in a different level as opposed to just reading it off paper, which obviously some of them couldn't do properly. So having this technology, it used things like where it was using audio to speak back to them and kind of helping them correct their mistakes that way, and so they found that they felt like they had more control over their learning.
But you also had the problem, right?
Yeah, also same thing with sort of the teachers as well. A lot of the teachers throughout the literature reviews were saying that they didn't feel like they had enough professional development, as well as not enough training to university in how to use ICT specifically for teaching students with visual impairments, and how using this technology can actually help them become more engaged in the classroom. So it was kind of like they wanted to do it, but they just didn't know enough about how to use these sort of things. Like they knew the computer, but how else could they use computer software
Exactly.
specifically for those kinds of students?
That's what came up when I was talking to some of my math teachers too. They were like, what sort of ICT can I use? I can use Excel, I can use PowerPoint, what's there? But there are multiple other tools which takes a little bit of searching.
Yeah, and I think teacher education is really important in terms of professional development because you might find, well, in my research, I found that a lot of the younger teachers that I interviewed were sort of late 20s, early 30s. They were really excited to use ICT. They were happy to engage it in any classroom setting, not just ASD students. And whereas they had experiences in the workplace of older teachers who didn't really share the same sort of motivation levels and enthusiasm to use ICT. But yes, so I think we can move on.
Yeah, so I have a low SES background, and so it was really interesting hearing you guys because there were similarities with my research as well. So some key factors that I found was that in terms of my data collection as well, so I did observation with 3 different students with the same teacher, and so consistent with my literature review, it really depends on the teacher that's integrating the ICT into the classroom. Like with tasks that were low order thinking, kids don't really engage with that, and when it came to research skills, students were finding it difficult to engage with those sorts of that sort of use of ICT. But in terms of things that are a bit more complex, like editing images in Photoshop, which a lot of people can struggle with, I was in a class that required SLSOs and Linux support, but these students were really effectively, they were able to use that program. So that was really interesting. So it goes back to how effectively the teachers integrating it and how confident they are. So it's really
And how confident the learners are also too. The autonomous learning is also very important. I found that with my grad students as well in the literature review. But autonomy and sort of, it builds the self-efficacy and builds motivation levels and
More
engagement.
confident and they want to do more.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And just other factors as well, like with the students that I found and also with the research, it also depends on the ICT literacy of their parents. So a lot of these students, they don't have access to resources at home, so they find it difficult to then apply these skills in their classroom, and that's a bit of a problem because kids who aren't from OSCS backgrounds, who have better access to resources, are able to do other activities and use ICT in ways that use higher order thinking, whereas these students, they needed that extra support in these sorts of softwares and programs that will motivate them and encourage them to interact with the sort of programs in ICT.